Hi, I'm Amanda Stein with the CI8 group, and today we're going to go over how to update charts in Content Editor, Webpart, how to update it. That's more of a text-based editor, and Notepad++. So before we start, Microsoft products work best with other Microsoft products. So this chart and editing this, if I was going to do any of the JavaScript editing on the Content Editor Webpart, you would need to do that in Internet Explorer or Edge to make sure that when you click save, it actually save in Chrome, which is what I'm in now. If I click save in the JavaScript editor, I think it would save, but then it would give me an error message saying that it's corrupt, and I would have to reload the page, come all the way back in, and then make the next change. So doing it in Internet Explorer or Edge will save you a little bit of that kind of heart attack that you think you've lost all your work. So I like to think that's a fun thing that Microsoft throws in to just keep you on your toes at the edge of your seat every time that you use it. So we'll start today by going up to the gear. So the gear is how you navigate through, your site contents and edit page. So when you click edit page, you'll be able to see all of the Content Editor web parts that are available. So I'm going to go here to edit page. It's going to say script editor because I've already added that in. This drop down will allow you to get to edit web part. So when you're in Edit Webpart, I found that this is really convenient for two different reasons. As you're making updates to the code in the background in the Notepad++ file, you can click Apply Changes, and when you click Apply, it'll refresh this chart. And when it refreshes that chart, you can see if your changes work or if your last set of changes broke it, and you can kind of go and troubleshoot at that point. I will warn you that if you don't have script type JavaScript in it, what will happen is it'll look like it's working, but then when you click OK, which kind of confirms your changes and allows you to exit and save, when you click OK, it won't display the chart on the main page. So you'd be able to see it right here, and then when you click save and exit to return to kind of the more browser view, what your users would see, the chart would just be gone. And so as you're doing this, make sure that you're putting your script type is equal to JavaScript or Java, whatever that you are using. So just to make sure that it displays. At this point, when you've clicked edit snippet, it's going to bring up everything, and you can put in your normal HTML like you would any other website. So I've got a head, a title, script. So up at the top, I've put in some JavaScript references at the top, but the ones that are going to execute are at the bottom. For some reason, the way the Content Editor web part was set up is if I put the JavaScript up here in the header section, it wouldn't actually execute whenever I would go to save it. It would just be there. It wouldn't run. So I've got any style sheets that you call out in the top header section. Body, you can see my divs here and what I plan to add in and the rest of the stuff. So these divs are then going down to the bottom is where I call the JavaScript. And you'll notice in most of the SharePoint pages that it works this way. So if you put JavaScript at different parts of your code, it will or won't execute. So like I said, JavaScript at the bottom, and here's the site. So if you look, you can reference it. Again, not a hard reference, but a soft reference to it. And what that'll do is if the site name changes, it'll just instantly work on the next site. So here's also some other script references that allow it to run. These are SharePoint script references to background things that'll allow that JavaScript to run. So what I've done is I've opened this file here. So this is where you would edit the stuff that's going to display, like HTML. I've pasted it in, so I normally paste it into something else, work on it, and then paste it back into here. If you click insert, it'll save your changes, and then you have to click apply. And then once you click apply, it'll refresh those changes and show you what, if it's working or not. So we'll do that real fast. The next part was, if you saw that JavaScript reference, what you would do is go to site contents. Well, say this is why we use Edge. Because it is working, it's just not working because I'm in Chrome right now. But what you would do is go to site contents, and From there, you'd be able to see your assets. I have it under metrics because that's the folder in my development site, JavaScript. And then if you'd like the address, you can click these 3 little ellipses and highlight it and then open it in Notepad++, which is my favorite development software. So in Notepad++, you would have your normal code, and then when that page loads, if the JavaScript's at the bottom and you have the right references for, I guess, the SharePoint libraries that help to read the JavaScript, then it will take and transition this code into the chart that you're trying to make. So one of the other elements I wanted to cover in here is we have a draw chart function, which is going to kick off when the page loads, and it's going to call this draw chart. So the first thing we're going to do is pull in the site through our SharePoint client context. I'm pulling in 2 lists. So we'll start with this top one. So I use this list with the SharePoint client context, and I get it by title. So if you wanted to pull in any other ones, you can name them title and you could put it down here. And then from this list, I then I'll actually load the list over here referencing this query value. So I use the same query value for both of them because right now I have it as recursive all. So viewing a scope recursive removes any of the folders or anything like that and allows you to get down to each one of the items. So if your list has folders, you want to make sure to use view recursive. And this is a query language that allows you to filter your data before it comes in. I'll see if I can show you a different one they have available. So here's an example of one where I've pulled in a different set of values for city and state, and I'm actually using a lookup and the parent ID that's currently in this section. And what it'll say is query where your parent ID is equal to the value that you're sending into this section of code, and then it's going to order by state. So it would order ascending by state. And so if you type in, I forget what this is. This is actually an acronym. I called it camel query, but that's probably not the real name for it. But if you type that acronym and pretty much whatever you're looking for in any filter values, you can also do ands and ors and pretty much anything that you would do to query different fields in a list or a view, you can do right there. So I use the same one since I'm not actually filtering the list, I'm just pulling in all of the data. But if you wanted to filter it, you could filter it, and then instead of loading, you could load this one here and then load a different one there. And it is important on how you do the load. So you have to do this list, then load it, do this list, then load it, next list, so on and so forth. And then we're going to execute the query, do an error call and a success call. When it succeeds, it comes here, and then we're going to take the query results and get them into a list. We'll get them enumerated so that we can move through it. And you can see that this is the list we're moving through, and as we do that, we can build whatever we need to build, or JSON tables or anything like that, and send it to the chart. So that's an overview of how to get to the information behind the chart itself, and kind of the basic overview of how to navigate. Oh, and as you save in Notepad++, it's going to push those changes here, and then as long as you're on the edit screen, you can either refresh the page and it'll refresh the chart, or in that edit menu you can click apply and it will apply those changes that you're saving to Notepad++. So it works pretty fast, and I found it's a lot easier to update stuff than trying to shove it all into the tiny content editor. So that is the very brief overview of how to navigate the chart, how to get to the content editor Webpart so that you can change the in the HTML, how to get to any style sheets in the site contents, and how to get to your JavaScript in site contents. So I'm Amanda Stein, and this has been SharePoint Chart Update Overview.